Definitely appreciate being in front of fellow Rotarians to get a chance to talk to you. As you said, I have a very busy schedule. I think changeover is the same day as my wedding, so I will not be able to attend the changeover to be officially recognized as president of the St. Clair Valley Rotary Club. I think I will get in trouble for that, even though it is 30 minutes down the street from where I'm getting married. But I think my soon-to-be wife would really appreciate that. So I'll be able to make that. Besides Rotary and a little bit about myself, I'm originally from the Cahokia area. That's why I served in the St. Clair Valley Rotary Club. I live in Muscuda now, but I work in Belleville, and I work also in Creve Coeur because I actually work for 101 ESPN as well. But my full-time job is Mind's Eye. I'm here, I'm the development director there. I've been there for 3.5 years. I started out as the evening board operator. I was community outreach coordinator. Then I became the development director probably about a month ago, so I actually settled into a new job as well this year. Before I get started, I just want to ask, I know not many people are familiar with Mind's Eye, what we do. So to kind of give a backtrack, to kind of give an illustration of what we do, how many of you read the newspaper or how many of you? It seems like it, yeah, it should be on. Yeah, it's on. Nothing coming out?
There it is.
Okay. There we go.
Go ahead.
Good. You think I'd be able to handle this, since this is what I do partially for a living. But Mind's Eye, how many of you read the newspaper or sort through the grocery store ads on a consistent basis? So I'm going to ask you, if you became blind or visually impaired, how would you do so? It would be a very tough thing to do, and that's what we try to do for our listeners in the St. Louis Metro East area. We keep them connected and self-reliant through reading them publications, which whether it's newspapers, magazines, or something as simple as the grocery store ads and department store ads. We air on a radio frequency that's actually, we borrow some of the bandwidth from 101 ESPN. If you go to Lady of the Snows, the shrine, it's where our home location is at in Belleville, or as I call it during the Christmas season, my rush hour traffic, because our building's right by where the Way of Life starts. So it's very hard to get out of there during most of the time during the holidays. So growing up, that was my favorite part of going to that. Now I'm my mind has changed a little bit, let's just say the least. What we do is we'll send out one of these radios to a listener, someone who maybe has macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy or anything else that will rob them of their vision or hamper their vision, and also for someone who's perhaps print impaired. So if someone has Parkinson's or maybe suffer from a stroke or wounded military, they also qualify for our free service. And we read, just from your typical morning from 8 to 11, we'll read the live news. But that consists of the Post-Dispatch and the Belleville News-Democrat. We also read Madison County news. We read a lot of local news too, so you'll get the Alton Telegraph, you'll get the Edwardsville Intelligencer, and most of the stuff like that too as well. And we read everything local, national that you can possibly think of. Our list goes from your standard programs as the Wall Street Journal, USA Today. We even have an outdoorsman show for people who maybe like to go, that want to read Field and Stream, they like to go hunting there before they lost their vision. Also to Rolling Stone and my favorite, National Enquirer. It kills a lot of time on Tuesday when you hear some of the ridiculous stuff at 2 o'clock that just airs on that. But our programs are read by volunteers. So we read 132 hours of programming, which 24/7 our station is streaming. We keep the same program schedule Monday through Sunday. So our listeners know exactly what's going to air Monday at 2 o'clock for the whole entire year. We do make changes periodically. Some of the changes we've been forced to make was the grocery store ads recently. As many of you know, they used to come out, some of the stores used to send them out on Sunday. Then they switched them to Wednesday. So it was a big change for our listeners because that's probably our most popular program. Because I think we take for granted, I know I do until I started at Mind's Eye. And my grandmother was actually blind and she lived with us until she passed when I was 11. So I kind of have an idea of working with or living with someone who's blind or visually impaired, but it's still one of those things as I grew up. I can go to the store and I can see that canned vegetables are on sale for 89 cents. Or I can walk in and see that I'm a Gatorade person, so I can see Gatorade or 10 for 10. But if you're blind or visually impaired, how do you go to the store and make those same choices? So that's why it's so important for us to have the grocery store ads, department store ads, so those individuals can still go out in the community and stay connected and self-reliant and be able to make their own conscious decisions as shoppers for, by using our service. Like I said, we have everything else, like some of the things you take for granted, the funny pages. We have a reader who's been reading the funny pages since 1991. He comes in every day. The guy who runs the station by himself on the weekends is blind. So he's actually a listener / he is employed by us too. And one of the things he always says about listening to the funny pages on Sundays is he used to have his vision until 1990. So he said through Bob Blanchard, who's a volunteer who reads this program, he's actually able to see Snoopy again. Just by using the voices, kind of describing what Snoopy looks like, just giving that illustration. That's what we aim to do at Mind's Eye. Some of the other things that we do in the community too, besides our radio reading service, which you can get through 3 ways now. This radio box is the standard way. It has one knob, so basically turn it on right here. Mind's out. This radio is not plugged up, of course, so it won't come on right now. But also, you just have to turn this one knob, and Mind's Eye will start playing. Unless you have it on the FM side, you'll get 101 ESPN, since we do borrow their bandwidth. So there's a lot of listeners that will ask us why we played the basketball game one night and then they play it that next night. And I had to explain to them, you probably had it on the FM side. Some of the things we do in the community too is we actually have a program we do called Audio Description. Audio Description is for those of you who go to the Fox, Muni, maybe go to Botanical Gardens, or maybe go to somewhere like another museum. What we do, if you're going, for example, we did this with Variety, the children's charity this year. They did the production of Little Mermaid. I don't know how many of you have little ones that have watched the movie, if you remember yourself from watching it. But there's a part in the production where Ariel gets her legs, where she turns from a mermaid into someone who's walking on the sand and on the beach. During that part of the production, there is no audio to say, hey, Ariel's getting her legs during the movie. So if you're blind or visually impaired sitting in the crowd, you have no idea what just took place. You can hear people clapping, cheering, crying, laughing, or whatever from whatever the visual aspect was, but if no one's telling you that, you don't know. So what we do is we give a headset to each listener that comes in that's blind or visually impaired, and they can listen to the production. We'll tell them around the dialogue, like, Ariel's wearing a pink dress, she's got her legs, we'll describe the costume, the set, so you can still get the visual and be able to picture that by watching the play and still getting the dialogue, the music, what have you, during that as well. A couple other things we do too. One is our the way we actually are funded for Mind's Eye is United Way is a primary source, and then we have 2 big fundraisers as well. One is the Soiree Pro Vu, which is a Mardi Gras themed dinner auction that we do in February around the time of Mardi Gras, whenever it falls in that calendar year. And the other one is Chris mentioned, is beep ball. Many of you know the game of baseball, softball. You've seen it played a certain way forever. And that's how it was until 3.5 years ago when I walked into Mind's Eye. And they explained this sport to me called beep ball, which is a variation of baseball that's played blindfolded. So, first thing I thought, which the general question most people think is, how do people not get killed while playing this? Because it just sounds extremely dangerous. But a lot of the rules are changed to make it more friendly for the blind, visually impaired population. The pitcher is actually on the batting team. So that's the first thing that's a little different. So they're actually trying to help out the batting. The pitcher is one of the few players. The pitcher and the catcher are not blindfolded. They're both on the batting team. The batter will go up to the plate and give the pitcher kind of a practice swing, kind of show them where they're at their level, their high, low. And the pitcher's job is to find the bat. So if they're lucky enough to make contact, they're lucky enough to work in sync. Because the pitcher will say, ready, set, swing. And you're supposed to swing on command of the pitcher. The ball beeps, but if you listen for the beep, the ball will be completely past you by then. So once they put the ball into play, if they're lucky enough to make contact, they'll run to a base, either first or third base. They're not your standard bases you'll see during the Cardinal game. They're tall tackling dummies, soft foam tackling dummies with a little buzzer inside. So there's someone operating them. If they hit it to the first base side, the third base will beep. Then it's your third base side, the first base side will beep. The reason for that is because the fielders are blindfolded. So we try to keep the blindfolded fielders away from the blindfolded runner, as you know, for safety precautions. So the object is to make it to one of those bases before the fielders field the ball. If you do that, it's a run scored. If they get the ball first, then it's an out. We've been doing this tournament now for 9 years. We do it in South County, over kind of off of Lee Ferry. Familiar with that area of 255. This is our 9th year. We actually hold the record for most beep ball teams in a tournament or a challenge in the whole country, whole world. We're tied with the Beep Ball World Series with 24 teams. We have great teams. We have 2 teams that are blind or visually impaired predominantly. We have some teams that are actually sponsored teams that come through, like Clarkson Eye Care, or the St. Louis Cardinals are one of our sponsors this year too. We have a lot of great stories here, and that is a very impressive thing to come out and watch and see, because if you're a sports fan or someone who's grew up around baseball, like many of us have in the St. Louis area, it's one of the things that's just kind of remarkable to really take in, that not only do we keep people connected and self-reliant or be able to do things through the radio service, but also we go outside the scope, whether it's at the Muni or on a baseball field. That's what we kind of aim to do at Mind's Eye, is to take care of those in the blind and visually impaired community, to make sure they're out enjoying and doing the same things as everyone else can, and making everything pretty much accessible for them to take part in what's going on in the St. Louis Metro East area.